Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Shramaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sanyavadi Paschati Dastarni. I am extremely happy and honored to be able to speak about my godbrother Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and feel extremely fortunate that I met him, and especially fortunate that I was in Dallas when he was there, and that was the time that we learned to become very close. And I learned a lot from him by watching how he dealt with you, his disciples, and how careful he was to train you. And in the back of my mind, I thought, I will also someday become guru. And so I would really study him. And today, often when I'm dealing with my disciples, I think, how would Tamal Krishna Maharaj deal with this disciple? Or if I were Tamal Krishna Maharaj, would my disciple even have done that? Would even have not known the proper etiquette or the proper behavior? And so I felt so enlightened, edified to be around him, just to study how he dealt with his disciples. Of course, I think the thing that really stood out about it was his deep affection and connection with his disciples, and its personalism with all of them, and how, because he was so personal and loving, how he could correct, and sometimes severely correct and chastise, but it would be taken so well because there was so much affection. And it's like the perfect, the guru is the thunderbolt and the rose. It was like a perfect combination. So I appreciated that so much. And when he left, I was feeling like you're not going to be able to go on without him, because you're also dependent on him, and he was so much in charge of everything in your lives. And to my pleasure and amazement, I see how well things went on. I was in Dallas at that time, and I never thought the Dallas community could survive his loss, because he was the Dallas community. And I was happy to see and be proven wrong that he had put Krishna consciousness very, very deeply in your heart. And I think this is so important. Such an important duty of the spiritual master, to get in and make that mark in your heart so deep that you can continue year after year after year in your Krishna consciousness. And that's what I see he did. He did an amazing job of connecting you to Krishna consciousness, connecting you to Prabhupada, and connecting you to ISKCON. And so I honestly admit that I thought, foolishly I thought, there's going to be a lot of problems. But I saw, obviously there's always problems when the guru leaves, but I was surprised pleasantly in many ways how deeply Krishna consciousness is rooted in the disciples of Tamal Krishna Maharaj, how much they have it, how much he has given, how much of what Prabhupada is and what Prabhupada wanted. You were so fortunate to get having so much association with Srila Prabhupada. You're so fortunate to be part of that. So I got to become friends with him. He specifically liked the relationship of friendship. He never told me what to do. He never asked me to do anything in Dallas. He never ordered me in this way. I could see he just wanted that friendship. With my wife, she became like a Siksha disciple, but he didn't treat her like he treated the Diksha disciples. He said, "You're from New York. I like hanging around with you. We're similar. I don't want to treat you like a Diksha disciple." So he had a more informal relationship by his own choice. He liked that. With his brother, he didn't want to initiate him. He wanted him as the brother. So I saw more and more how he thrived on affection. One time on emotion, expressing emotion and feelings. And one time during Vyasa-puja, late 90s or early 2000s, Mother Kirtida was speaking. A lot of devotees would read their offerings. And she didn't read an offering, she just spoke what she felt. And it was very emotional. She was expressing her affection. And while she was doing that, my wife turned to me and said, "This is the offering that he likes the most, because she's expressing affection spontaneously." And that's what I saw within him in the last days. It's just the appreciation of relationships, the appreciation of devotees, and how much he wanted to express that and be part of those relationships. For me, he was more of a big brother than any other devotee in ISKCON. And for me, I felt sheltered in the sense that if there were a problem I couldn't solve, a decision I had to make, a difficult philosophical issue, just some difficulty that I couldn't handle and I needed advice, I needed guidance, I knew two things. I could go to him and he would listen, and number two, he would give the right answer. And I felt this comfort in knowing there's someone in this world that can solve any crisis that I face at any time in my life. I can just go to him and say, what do I do? And I will get the perfect answer. But that was extremely comforting, just to know that there was a person on this planet that could solve the problems that I may face that I couldn't solve on my own. And then when he left, my first thought was, now what? There's nobody. What am I going to do? Where's that person? And still to this day, I feel that absence. Although it's so many years later, I feel the absence of where's that person I can go to and just get the answer I need, or confide in, and will be able to understand me and give me the perfect advice. I feel it today. There was nobody like that. And there still isn't any. I mean, there are devotees that can help, but someone like that, no. So that was, for me, that was a huge loss. One time when I had moved to Dallas, late 90s, we were looking to settle there, and so we were looking for a home, and we were going to raise a family and so forth. And we had been serving full-time in ISKCON, and we had just come from Vrindavan where we were working with the VIG. So we had nothing. We had no home. We had no money. I had dropped out of university to join ISKCON. So, he understood that. And one day we were having lunch, and while we were leaving lunch, he said, you shouldn't have to deal with all of this, money, financial things and so forth. You've given your life to Prabhupada, and you can contribute so much to Prabhupada that this doesn't feel right, that you have to struggle like this. And he said, why don't you let me buy you a house? I have the money. I can do that. And my wife and I were like, I guess we could say we were shocked, because no one had ever said that. No one had even thought of that. No one had even suggested that no one else in ISKCON would think like that. And he wasn't just saying that, he was dead serious. He was dead serious. He just felt bad. They said, why should you have to make all this effort to support yourself after you've given so much of your life to Prabhupada? And that made this indelible impression in my heart, that here is a person that cares so much about his godbrothers that he'd be willing. At that time, I think homes were like about $60,000. He'd be willing to give me that money. Yeah, just take it, use it for your home. Of course, we didn't take it. We didn't think it was proper. But still, that was amazing. And that's something that is, it's not something you can forget. And it's something that made a huge impression. So I think these are the main things I want to express in our relationship, and how he's helped me so much in my role now. He doesn't probably realize it, in my role as a guru, how he's impressed me so much, and how in the way he's impressed you, and how the communities that he was in charge of are still so strong, and how much affection he had for me, and how wise he was, and how much I needed him. These are the things I wanted to express. So thank you all for listening. I wish you all the best on this day. I pray that you'll get the mercy of Tamal Krishna Maharaj in oceans and oceans of doses forever, and you will spread his glories and tell people about him and share what he has taught. So many valuable instructions. And go on also someday to represent him, and also some of you make your own disciples, and as Radhacharan is now starting to do, and that he will be very, very happy. The last thing I would say is that if you follow his instructions, if you work with an ISKCON, if you follow Srila Prabhupada, if you follow proper Vaishnava etiquette and do something, just push this movement on. That's the best way you can serve and the best way you can please him. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.